What's up, guys? What's going on? Welcome to another Cosmos Sessions. Roll the intro. All right, welcome. So today I want to talk about the astrology midlife crisis. So you may have heard this been discussed before. Obviously, in our popular culture around the world, we have the image of, say, from different films, the father who gets in his new sports car at around 40 years old and has this whole new mental state of needing to be renewed and find new life and blah blah blah, right? It's depicted differently in different cultures. So there's actually a way that that's shown through astrology, through transits that we all go through at the same time, regardless of when we're born, what our charts are. Just like the Saturn return, just like we all go through that at around 29.5 years old, we all go through these. And the reason, and it's roughly around the same time, it differs a little bit, but there's 4 of them. So the first is transit Pluto square natal Pluto. So that's when your Pluto starts here, and after 37 to 43 years, it becomes, the transit Pluto, where it is in the sky, moves to a 90-degree angle, called a square, right? To where it was natally for you. The second is Uranus, the Uranus opposition from 40 to 42 years old. So that's Uranus. You're born, Uranus is here in the sky. This is a zodiacal wheel, give or 10. And then, boom, like it does a whole, 180. So it's opposite. And I'll go into each one of them, of course, right? So, and then you have the Neptune square Neptune, kind of like the same thing as Pluto. That's from 40 to 43. Neptune starts here, and then by 40 to 43, it moves so slowly that it only gets, to 93 signs away, 90 degrees. And finally, you have the Saturn opposite natal Saturn. So that is the half Saturn return. That's on your second Saturn return. That's when Saturn has already done the first Saturn return, right? Saturn starts here. It does one return, and then it does a half return around 43 to 44. So all those happening around the same time is crazy. So I have to do what I do with my pen. Let's start by talking about the Pluto one, right? Oh my God, what just happened? I have my phone out for some notes, and it just went to Instagram. But the imperfections, guys, that's what art is all about, right? Hold on, let me just write this down. So, okay, so anyways, Pluto square Pluto. So like I said, 37 to 43. Why is it 37 to 43? Well, the reason is because Pluto is different than other planets, planetary points, in that, for example, Pluto spends different amounts of time in different signs. So it really depends on what Pluto sign you're born in. I'm not going to go into all that right now. But anyways, so as you know, Pluto, it's a 248-year orbit, full cycle around the sun. So while there's countries like the U.S. currently going through a Pluto return, you see what's happening there. I mean, I don't know when people will be watching this video, but I'm doing this in 2024. And it's been crazy for the USA. I'm doing it for Argentina. I'm actually, I was gonna say I'm chilling down here, but it's not too good down here either. Hopefully improving. But yeah. So, anyways, Pluto at this point in time, it really makes one look at their own need to control everything, if that's something, and how one uses one has used and one uses their personal power. Is power found within? Is power something that you're trying to use to control, other people in some way in life, right? And Pluto is all about letting go. It's very linked to spirituality in that sense, based on how you define spirituality. But the way I define spirituality is very simple. It's having a introspective relationship with yourself. So that can look very different for different people, and being willing to kind of let go and not always have to be right, listen to other people. So, and do shadow work, right? So there can be like a lot of resistance that people have during this, and that's why it can be a very tense time. And it can bring up a lot of shadow and things that people have brushed underneath the, what's the expression, the carpet, or pushed, kind of pushed into that room. I'll deal with that later. It can come out in all areas of life, right? So yeah, anyways, let's see. Yeah, like I was saying, like like because of the declination of Pluto, it can be very, yeah, it can be in one sign for 30 years, another sign for 13. That's why it's very different. So as you go through that period, as you're born, Pluto might be, you might have Pluto in the first sign, for 30 years, or for 13 years. It could go a lot faster person to person. Say that, right? Yeah, I would say that this one is really more internal. You kind of face your shadow. So if you've done, and it kind of puts the microscope to any negative patterns, unconscious patterns. So if you've done good work in that realm, no transits have to be difficult. It's really, if you handle the energy internally. I mean, yeah, there is going to be something that comes from transits regardless, right? No matter who you are, but yeah, it doesn't have to be that hard. Okay, so Uranus opposition. So 40 to 42. So this one is gnarly, gnarly, gnarly. So this is, because it has an 84-year cycle, around, half, 40. So that's like around the length of a human life, right? Normal, typical human life in many parts of the world. So that's also why you kind of experience that. It could be one reason, the whole archetype of the wise old man, because you've done one full Uranus return, right? And you can see things really clearly. So maybe people who are 84, I know that a lot of them have problems, but I don't know about you, but I know about me. I've had some of my wisest mentors be around that age. So I pray to God that my brain and everything is still working, our science makes some great achievements for us to, yeah, to still be trucking by then. Shout out to the scientists. And to Pluto and Aquarius. See my last video that only got like very few views about the coming astrology. Anyway, so Uranus opposition. So yeah, Uranus obviously is the planet of change, breakthroughs, transformation. How can you be authentic, independent? So this one has really got the midlife crisis kind of feels to it, because we feel, if we've been very, especially in this society, if we've been living a lot in the conditioning, if we've been very conditioned, if we've been pushed, to live a life that isn't in alignment with our true authentic self. And a lot of us, maybe not us watching this video, but perhaps, right, a lot of people have just done what they've been told to do. They've ignored, in essence, if they would have known about their natal chart, or if they would have explored their true selves. A lot of people just do what they're supposed to do, what society tells them to do, what's going to make them look good at that dinner party, blah blah blah, what's going to make their family proud of them, not necessarily what they want to do. That's one of the gifts of astrology, but I'm not going to go into that right now. So here, this is where you really feel like you need to individuate. You need to feel different. What makes me different? And people start to lose their minds here sometimes, because it's like, am I really living life up to my standards? Am I really living life? Is this really me? What I'm doing? Is this a job, in this corporate job? Is this really what I want my legacy to be. Start thinking about legacy at around this age, right? Neptune will definitely bring a lot of that legacy thought, what I want to leave behind. We'll get to that one next. So if you're living a life that feels boring, constraining, that's, because the thing about Uranus, it's all about freedom. It's very fun too. And it can be a little bit hectic, but that's what makes Uranus opposition can make it so intense and so life changing, because Uranus is an energy that does not give up. So it's like a roller coaster, and it's like a thunder strike, boom, like you get this thunder strike intuition, or just download, or whatever you want to call it, of like, oh wow, you know, I've really been screwing up. I have not been living my life. What? And then it also gives you that feeling of power, which comes from Pluto too. Pluto, the Pluto one will give you some feeling of power. Okay, now, like, how can I change this, right? I've paid my debts, my dues. Now what, right? Maybe if you're a parent, your kids are starting to go to college, or you've raised them, and it's a time where you can actually do things for yourself. Different for everyone, right? So yeah, if you become too predictable, there's this new sense of youth. Uranian people, Uranus is Aquarius, 11th house. They tend to be, not always, because there's very Saturnian Aquarius. I should make a video about that. But very, yeah, I mean, they can, it's not like Mercurians, like, yeah, they stay very youthful, but I feel like Uranians, they just have this outside the box thinking, and very genius. Not genius in like the IQ way, just genius in the way of thinking outside the box, having an open mind, very inventive. Okay, let me see what I got. Yeah, so a lot of people like go through divorces, career changes. They feel like, so this is like why it's so important to get out of your system what you need to get out of your system early on. Because a lot of people who didn't do that, and who spent their 20s and all that working and blah blah blah, and just not enjoying themselves around this time, they realize, like, I want to, like, what am I doing this for? I want to enjoy my life a bit, right? I want to figure out who I am. That's when they make that crazy purchase and restart their life, right? Uranus can lead to that. So it's really about, yeah, exploring your authenticity, your freedom, your individuality, and truly finding your authentic voice. Who am I? Who are you, right? So it pushes you to that more authentic life path, right? And because it's an opposition, unlike the square of the Pluto and Neptune is more internal. This one can be externalized. So that's why there are, relationships being highlighted. Does this relationship I'm in, does this give me my freedom? Do I have freedom in this relationship or not, right? So obviously there's, you obviously need to know about what houses are being transited for all these and blah blah blah. But yeah, okay. So okay. So next is Neptune square Neptune. So this one is from 40 to 43 years old, and this is the planet of spirituality, the planet of dreams, but also can be the planet of fog and self-delusion. So as I was talking at last about legacy, during this one, there can be a feeling of despair, depending on where you're at in life, or a feeling of kind of looking back at everything and wondering, what are my dreams, right? Am I really accomplishing my dreams? Am I really doing the best towards getting there? And it can really promote a form of kind of idealization rather than rational thoughts, and that can definitely lead someone into some very deep introspective times. So if you're for people who are not on it can be very confusing and very foggy, like I said, especially for people who are not on a spiritual path, who are just kind of living their life in that type of, repetitive, whatever, not really introspective way. This can be a time where they start to wake up or not. Some people never do. Some people can get all the knocks on the doors they want, and they just ignore all of them. But, generally this time can lead to a lot of confusion and a lot of a loss of sense of identity and sense of, a lack of sense of I'm going in the right direction, or the flow that one has with their life, if it's not aligned with where they're trying truly meant to get. Now remember, I always say this, not everyone is here to have the same experience. Some people, their karma is to be, a sex worker, right? Some people are meant to go through different experiences that some of us, that's why you can never judge anyone. Some people are meant to have a life that might seem very materialistic or whatnot, for a certain period of time. I mean, it's just we don't understand God, so trying to act like we do is foolish, and you just have to have love for people and compassion, and ask yourself, instead of judging. Now I'm going on a spiel. Instead of judging, ask yourself, why is that person like that? What led them to that? That's when things get really interesting, and then you learn a lot about how people and psychology really works. So these are way easier. This one's way easier for people who are already on the spiritual road. But yeah, it's really about gaining that clarity of what you really want in life, and looking at your dreams and aspirations, and having that clarity. And it's kind of teaming up with Uranus and making you be a more authentic version of yourself, right? So all these can kind of come together, especially these two, and push you away from that former version of yourself. And things that may have, your values may shift. Things that you that may have been meant a lot to you before start to mean less. Accomplishments, all that. So yeah, but because it is a square, the idea of it's internal, right? So there can be a lot of disillusionment, a lot of not being able to, not being able to see things clearly, and questioning your self-worth too is a big thing for Neptune transits, right? So yeah, so I think with that, the more that you can tap into your intuition, to your compassion, to that oneness you feel with other people, it gets a lot easier for people who have, I don't want to say just careers, but who have lives where they're giving, and where they're in touch with their heart chakra, with their, with their different, with, the connection with all that is, right? So yeah, it's really about making someone a more spiritual version of themselves. And now the shadow of Neptune is addictions and running away from it. So that's another thing that's very likely. With Pluto, it could be power tripping and control, and Uranus, it can be, I guess, like aloofness and kind of going too off the walls, right? And yeah, Neptune, it can be escapism. So yeah, just know that too. It doesn't always work out, but there are opportunities. Let me see what I got here. So yeah, so for those who reject these, it can be difficult. And when you add the confusion and the fog to all those, Plutonian themes I talked about before, of the shadow work, and the Uranian themes of the individualism and freedom seeking, it's really like the main thing is learning to let go and be your true self. That's really what these are teaching you, right? So then finally we have the Saturn. So this one's, a little bit around 43, 44. We have Saturn, as I said before. So the Saturn opposite Saturn for the second time. So you've already gone through one Saturn return. So every time Saturn goes over a planet, it matures that planet. That's why you really become an adult post 29 and a half ish, right? And so this one lasts less time because Saturn does go faster, but it's another one where it really makes you look at your life purpose and kind of seeing where you are in relation to that. So it can be very sobering and very restricting if you're not on that path. And it's really the thing about Saturn is that it's showing you what you need to see. It's like I always say, Saturn is like that strict teacher that most of us had, or just individual early on in our lives that saw the best in us. I know I had a teacher who was old and white, kind of black hair, dark black hair with little white pieces, and she just would scream at me so much more than the other kids. And now I see it's because she saw the high potential in me, and I just didn't really care at school. I was Pisces, head in the sky. But anyways, yeah. So like with the Saturn return, if you've been doing the work, it doesn't have to be a difficult time. It could actually be a good thing. And you can actually get that recognition, that breakthrough that you've been working so hard to get. But when you combine it with everything else, you really have to do the groundwork in life, right? And sort of the foundation you're creating for your life. And this period is it could be one. I've seen a good amount of people around this time, like late bloomers when it comes to marriage, get married. People who might have commitment issues, make commitments, right? So it's interesting how each individual adapts to not just the Saturn one, but all four of these. So let's see. Yeah. Also, I would say with the Saturn opposition, because it is opposition, once again, that can um, lead to divorces or just difficulties with other people. It can make relationships that aren't based in your true essence and what you really want as you're evolving as a human really difficult to keep. That's why you probably, I don't know what age people get divorced. I know it's really young these days, but it's tough to get through that one if you're not. That's why, if you're going to get married, really be sure, my opinion. So how does this all add up, right? This just shows the divine workings throughout astrology. Hold on. Right, so it shows the divine workings throughout astrology, and just how you have free will, but there's this sort of like ball, right? This little arena, and if you get a little bit outside of it, boom, slaps you back in. And you see with all four outer planets having this same, or a similar aspect to each other around the same time. It really just shows us that it really pushes us into our karmic positions for that period of our life, and it really shows. It's an interesting way of astrology showing us kind of this some would say that the Saturn returns marks the start of adulthood. I would say that these transits mark the start of real adulthood, or just like the real second half of life, kind of, right? Because you have people like myself who have been through the Saturn return, and I'm not married. And so people who haven't made those commitments yet, or who are still very, very youthful, but then when these transits start to hit, I feel like it becomes more difficult. Yeah. Let me see what I got here, guys. And yeah, I always want to add that it's way easier, anything in astrology, anything in life, when you have that awareness that's happening, like a transit or this, way easier. But you should always book a reading with someone like myself to know when exactly that is for you, right? Like I said, it's gonna be different for everyone else. But I only do current astrology readings for people who have first booked the natal chart. You can book that at jesseinnesanastrology.com. I have essentially no wait list right now. I just started doing live readings for the first time ever. Mostly pre-recorded, that's what I prefer, but yeah. So that's been fun. So let's see. There's so much here. Yeah, so anyways, like Pluto, it's the shadow work, it's the asking you the question, have I done the necessary shadow work? Have you gone into your inner darkness and cleaned out that karmic closet enough that you shove things into? And then with Neptune, have you developed your spirituality? Have you become compassionate? Have you been in touch with your true dreams and ideals? Have you been connected and close to the divine, found a higher purpose, blah, blah, blah. And then with Uranus, have you broken free of conditioning? Have you found what it really means to be you? Have you found with Neptune and Uranus that true purpose, that true mission, that true legacy, that thing that really gets you burning, right? But the only way you can find that is if you find your authentic self first. If you don't find your authentic self, you're screwed, right? And then and then with Saturn, it's the foundations, right? It's are you on course with what you've really set yourself out to be, and are you being realistic with yourself, and are you living in a fantasy world? Like Saturn is sobering, right? Saturn is like get real energy, but within the context of those other ones that are very, very much, I think Saturn, because if you take the Neptune Uranus together, that can create some kind of lofty craziness, right? So Saturn's kind of like that, not policeman, but that mentor that's like, all right, like let's keep things reasonable, right? So yeah, just surrendering and letting go. It can be a nice period, right? And you can really start to see your spiritual journey, your spiritual work paying off. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you've experienced this, I would love to hear about it. I read all the comments. If I don't respond, I still read them. I try to respond, depends. And yeah, if you guys are looking to take one-on-one astrology classes, I offer those. And if you guys are looking to get any kind of astrology readings, go to my website, jesseinnesanastrology.com. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye. Ciao.